Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Elestrals deck profile for you. So we are continuing with our post-ban list builds here. We've already covered Earth. Hopefully I put these out in the right order and Earth does go out before Thunder. Should remember to do that. But yeah, we're now going to be moving on to my post-ban list build for Thunder. So post-ban list, but pre-Moonrise, of course. So yeah, Arclith being one of the main limits here. This is going to be the build with the Water Splash. Dewdrop, as it's been called, Wet Thunder, as it's also been called. This is the kind of variant that we're on here. Very, very much want to be on a variant like that, especially, like I said, post-ban list. So we're just going to dive right on into it. Like I said, Arclith is now only at 1, but we do have a couple of other 2 Spirit Thunder cards we're playing. 2 copies of Sonicore. So Sonicore was already not bad, by the way, before the ban list when Arclith got limited. Sonicore is a very, very good Celestial in its own right. It's a 7/2 Thunder Spirit Celestial that says this Sonicore's cast cannot be chained by counter runes, and while this Sonicore is in attack position, players cannot cast counter runes. So for those who play Yu-Gi-Oh!, it's effectively Jinzo, and that's a quite good effect to have, especially in this pre-Moonrise format where we don't have necessarily all of the back row hate that set offers, right? So, yeah, like I said, there were already Thunder builds that were playing Sonicores over Arclith. I think Arclith was definitely the stronger card, and I was on a full playset before, but now trying out the 2 Sonicores in place of 2 of the Arcliths there. So those are our 2 Spirit Thunder Elestrals. For other Thunder Elestrals we're playing, of course, we're on 3 Astrabbit, as any Elestral deck would be. 3 copies of Jolton as well. Pretty typical for Thunder decks, right? Being able to search the Mount Olympus effectively can make this a 5, and Mount Olympus, of course, is quite good in the Thunder decks. We're playing 2 copies of Quackle, as well as 2 copies of Toxian, again, relatively standard, and then the 1 Elichick that we are allowed. So as you can see, honestly, when it comes to the Thunder Elestrals that we're playing, it's not what's changed, just how many copies of each, right? Again, with the limits of both the Arclith and the Elichick. So the Dewdrop or Wet Thunder deck, that the builds that have topped, like the one that Dimax topped with, wasn't on Toxian. It's kind of what I'm playing in substitute to Elichick, but I was thinking about this recently, and it's like, could just play 2 Visceras here, honestly. We're already playing the Earths for Earthquake. It's not that big of a deal to splash 1 or 2 more. It's going to be a very recurring theme. I think what I'm probably going to end up doing is like some combination of Water, Thunder, and Earth is just going to get boiled down into a yet another good stuff deck is what I want to try at some point. But I also wanted to try dedicated Earth and Thunder decks post-ban list before just making a deck of that style. But I do want to point that out, that I honestly do think that even in a more dedicated Thunder deck, it is probably just correct. It might be, but I think it's probably just correct to be playing 2 Visceras probably instead of these 2 Toxian here. So, but those are all of our Thunder Elestrals. Again, Toxian, of course, not being a bad card at all. To be fair, though, if you are also on like Sonicores, you definitely want to be playing more Thunder Elestrals to be able to ascend more easily. Is another reason to play Toxian there. So, for non-Thunder Elestrals, we of course have the Water package of 2 Foamy, 2 Eddy, and then 2 Galaxy. It's pretty self-explanatory. Well, relatively self-explanatory, right? Eddy is already a good enough card that it sees play in many, many decks that don't even want to play Water in the first place. We'll play it for Eddy and or Tsunami. Galaxy is already a very good card in its own right. Of course, it's a 5 if you throw the Water Spirit on it, as in it has 5 attack. But also, you will often throw a Thunder Spirit on this and just play it out in defense mode, keeping it with its 5 defense. It could even be a 3/6 with like Mount Olympus, and then ascending into like Arclith or Sonicore off of that. And then Foamy just has the option to grab either of these, whichever is good. But really more than that, Foamy is just, it's a card that nobody wants to ever battle into. Like, it doesn't even seem like a lot of the time it matters how big your opponent's board is, like how many dudes they have. If you just have a Foamy in defense mode, there's a lot of people who will just pass without attacking into it. And a lot of the time that's that's even the correct play. So it's a card that your opponent has to go like far out of their way to remove a lot of the time. It's a priority for kill spells, but that also means that your other stuff is not getting hit by those kill spells. So that's pretty good. And that's going to do it for the Elestrals in this deck. For runes, stadiums, we got 2 Mount Olympus. You only need 2 because we have the 3 Jolton, so this card is highly searchable. For divines, we have Zeus, of course, only at 1. And I am also playing Demeter, so if you saw my Earth profile, or I guess if this one somehow ends up going first and you didn't, I'm playing in Earth, I'm playing both Zeus and Demeter, and similarly here in Thunder, I'm playing both as well. It's like I said in that profile, I think that having a second target for Elechik in case you draw, in our case Zeus, if you draw that before the Elechik, you definitely want to still have a good search target. And also, I think the effect is good enough that it's worth it to play. Now, I will say in this deck, it's a little bit more of a splash to play Demeter than it is to play Zeus in Earth. Because in Earth, you're already playing multiple Thunders for Astrabbit and Elechik. We are already playing multiple Earths, but really only for Earthquake. So I did include a couple more Earth Spirits for Demeter, but I think it's worth it. I do think that it is worth it. Of course, once Moonrise comes out, you could just play 3 Zeus again. But in the meantime, I honestly think this is correct, personally. So that's it for Divines, of course. For Invokes, we have 1 Race to the Top. I don't know why this card is limited. I really don't, but I'll still play a copy. We're still playing Jolton from Mount Olympus anyway, so it's like there's no reason not to. We're playing Earthquake, as mentioned before. It's the reason that we're on Earth to begin with, and again, it's just a definitive staple, I think, at this point. And then, of course, 3 Ambro, and Resting on Your Laurels as well. That's it for Invokes. For Counter Runes, 2 Tsunami as part of our water package, and then 3 Gorgon's Gaze, 3 PTA, 2 Shield of Achilles, which is, I think, pretty standard par for the course. So that is it for the main deck. For the Spirit deck, we are on... Oh, hang on, I was like, I saw a very low amount of water, and I was like, huh? That's not right, is it? No, I just had to reorganize it. There we go. So we're on 4 water, which doesn't really seem like a lot, but it's actually completely fine. Like, 4 water for 8 cards is honestly all that you really need. Spirit Math, I could make a whole video talking about Spirit Math. And I think I'm decent enough at Spirit Math that I might be qualified to speak on that. But one of the general rules of thumb that I like to follow, of course this isn't the case every single time, but one of the general rules I like to follow is that for every 2 copies of a card of a given spirit type, 1 of that spirit is about what you need. So when you think about the fact that we play 2 Foamy, 2 Eddy, 2 Galaxy, 2 Tsunami, all of a sudden 4 water spirits for 8 cards, it's actually good enough, honestly. And of course we do have Ambro, that does exist, so makes the Spirit Math a little easier. We're on 4 to Rattless, 2 for Earthquake, 2 for Demeter. I could easily see a world where you cut one of the Earths and play 5th water in its place. This could be correct. The thing I don't like about that, though, is if you draw Demeter before Earthquake, you either have to commit to go full Demeter and not playing Earthquake anymore, or you could go 1 Earth for the Demeter and still have Earthquake up. There's arguments for either, but I think that just playing 4 to Rattless makes that decision point a lot easier. And then we're playing 8 non-Thunder, which means our remaining 12 spirits are all going to be Thunder. I don't know. You could also play 11 Thunder and then 5 Water if you really wanted to as well. But I do think it is important to have access to lots of Thunder Spirits, because even though the Arclith is limited, it's still a house and a very, very strong card. So one you should definitely account for. But also, it's like if you're a dedicated Spirit type of a deck, 12 is a really good, comfy number to be on. When you get down to like 10, again, for a dedicated Spirit type of a deck, then I think it's a little bit personally. But alright, so that is going to do it for this list. Why don't we go ahead and now take a look at these games. Okay, hopping into this Thunder game against Queso. We, of course, are going to be on the Thunder deck, and Queso's going to be on Wasp Ivy yet again. So, how the tables have turned. I didn't even mean to do that reference. I actually just messed up the quote. That's funny. Anyway, so Queso's going to go first here, leading off with Elechik. Elechik is going to grab the Demeter from the deck here. So, this is game 1, I believe. Queso did have... I think we went to game 3 on this one, and one of those games, as it tends to be with Wasp Ivy, was just Queso getting the Wasp Ivy out relatively early and me just really not being able to do anything against it. The deck can be a little bit feast or famine sometimes in that regard, but yeah, like I said, Queso's grabbing that Demeter here off the Elechik. Again, Elechik is very much worth it to play at 1 copy in a lot of builds. Same with the Demeter too, of course. Alright, Demeter going to hand there, and let's see if he's got anything else. Looks like 1 back row before it's going to end up being my turn. Yeah, this ended up being a really back and forth game from what I remembered here, so very eager to watch this play out. Well, I mean, I did play the game just earlier today, so I do remember how it went as well, but now we're going to lead off with Astrabbit ourselves, going for the Bunny in defense mode, and hoping that doesn't eat a PTA or a Gorgons. I think PTA would be, well, it's very hand dependent. You see me pick up my deck, I almost searched it. I don't know what I was thinking there, but it's very hand dependent whether you would rather have the rabbit get PTA'd or Gorgons. Here I'm looking for counter runes, we'll see if I remember right, because I already have a lot of good Alestral plays in hand. Ooh, excuse me. Actually opened with both Arclith and Sonocore here. So that's pretty interesting. It's one of the reasons I kept this hand, though, because I had Arclith, Rabbit, and Sonocore. There are very few hands with Rabbit that I wouldn't keep, but... Hey, there's Acorn. There are very few hands with Rabbit that I wouldn't keep, but... yeah, having the Arclith as a bit of a backup plan and a Sonocore as a mainline plan, so to speak, is definitely not too shabby there. So now, we do have a little bit of a problem, though, and that is going to be the Demeter that Queso added. That Demeter is pretty much going to mean that Queso is able to win any and all battles during his turn for the next few turns. I remember that on that Rabbit, one of my 3 options was Mount Olympus, and I didn't take it because I was like, oh yeah, I can just find that off Jolton later. But what I should have done, and what I should have thought about, was the fact that because of Demeter, I actually did really want Mount Olympus, so that way my Arclith, whenever that gets dropped, would be at a high enough stat line that Queso just can't get over it with the Demeter, right? Queso played a Viscerus, by the way, there. It's a little bit hard to tell with the light and the altar, but that is a Viscerus that came down in addition to the Elechik. Okay, so briefly debating on what to buff with the Demeter before deciding to stick with the Viscerus and trying to hit over the Astrabbit with that. There goes the battle, but thankfully we do have the Shield of Achilles, so we're going to use that to bounce the Viscerus back to hand. But, of course, that is a very temporary solution, right? Very temporary solution. Because we are not only going to have to deal with the Viscerus, but also the Demeter as well. Queso also flipping up Argo here in response, and I believe is going to end up equipping Scythe? No, Tunic. They are going to equip the Tunic. Or he's going to equip the Tunic, rather. To the Astrabbit. It only lowers the attack, though. It does not lower the defense. Oh, yeah, and then there's the extra 1 for the shield, of course, yeah. Yeah, because the way that it plays out is that I have to pay for the other half of shield off of its effect. So, anyway. Yeah, so the Poison Tunic's on the Rabbit, but the Elechik still can't get over it here, thankfully. So, in case we're going to pass back over to us. Now, I did consider just ascending into Sonocore here, but the problem with that is that if I do that, then Queso can just go Viscerous, Demeter, battle over Sonic War with Vis, summon a Vis from deck, and then that's pretty not good for me. It's a very not good position to be in. So that's another reason I think why, yeah, the Mount Olympus would have been so much better than... I don't even remember what I took. We do have a Foamy here, so I'm going to summon that in defense mode before setting and then passing. The set is a bluff. I'm pretty sure it's an Ambro, and I have another one, a second one in hand. So this isn't much better than just running out the Sonic Core, but Foamy at least is not a clean answer for the Vista battle into. So Viscerous is coming down, but actually getting misenchanted with water. I guess Queso was under the assumption that I had a Tsunami here, which is not a bad assumption to have at all, honestly. It also makes me wonder if Queso has the second Viscerous in hand already. Because he seemed pretty comfy with disenchanting the Vis here. Kind of makes me feel like he had another one. So he does get the burn from from the Poison Tunic here. Queso not battling into the Foamy is simply going to pass. Definitely understandable. You don't want me to just have, you know, Galaxy or anything for free here. So I will get to drop the Arclith, as Queso does have 2 attack position Elestrals. Remember, that doesn't have to be 2 more Elestrals than you do. Just 2 attack position Elestrals. So even though I have the defense mode Foamy, I can still play out the Arclith here. Arclith coming down with 5 spirits attached to it. I'm going to set another card. It was a little greedy of me to not cast an Ambro off the Arclith. It would have been essentially free here. Well, but oh no, you know what? I didn't because I only have 2 spirits in my yard. That's why I didn't do it. Yeah, because I was just counting just there. I remember now. So instead, I'm going to simply use the 5-spirit Arclith to hit over the Misenchanted Viscerous. Yeah, because I don't want the other Viscerous to come down with an Earth and then suddenly be at 6 attack, right? So that is also, of course, on top of dealing 4 points of spirit damage, which is a pretty huge spirit differential. So it's always good to be able to get that in. Yeah, I only had the 2 spirits there. Otherwise, I would have Ambroed. It would have definitely been worth it to heal for free and miss out on 1 point of damage there. Alright, so here comes a Poison Tunic on the Arclith that is going to drop it down to being only a 4/4. Meaning that, well, I mean, Demeter on Elchik would have been able to battle over it anyway, but it looks like Queso might be trying to save the last Demeter, or otherwise wants to get more burn value off of the Tunic, possibly. Alright, let's see what he ends up playing here. It's an interesting decision point. Oh no, is he putting on Foamy? Yeah, I think he initially was going to put the Tunic on Arclith, decided to put it on Foamy, and then changed his mind again. Okay, there is another Viscerous there. I wasn't even really paying as much attention to that during the actual game, but he did actually have the other Vis. Okay, so Demeter looks like is going to end up buffing one of the 2. The Viscerous looks like here. And let's see how this ends up playing out. Moving to battle. Oh. No, we're gonna... Oh, okay, we're resting here. Yeah, so this is where Queso was like, no, sorry, I do actually want to put the Tunic on the Arclith, because, of course, the resting would take out the Foamy here. Yeah, yep. So yeah, Tunic's gonna end up on Arclith, where it was originally. So yeah, that'll bring Arclith down to a 4/4, allowing the Elchik to crash. Or maybe the Demeter was used on the Elchik, I'm just misremembering. Yeah, it looks like that was the case here. So, of course, we end up taking the burn from the Tunic and then also the point of damage from the Vis. So I think I take a total of 3 more here. So yeah, there's the burn. And then there's the Vis damage. Yep. Yeah, alright, before Queso's passing back over to me. Alright, now, I'm a little bit behind here on board, unfortunately, so gonna have to be playing... I mean, I've kind of already been playing catch-up a little bit, but the Arclith wasn't enough to get me ahead. I kind of knew that was going to be the case with the Demeter out there, but Yeah, Arclith ultimately by itself was not enough to catch me like back up on the board state here. So gonna go for a defense mode Quackle, healing 3 before passing, because I think that's my only 1 spirit in hand. So I will say this much. The Arclith limit, this is also from the perspective of somebody playing the Thunder deck. I think the Arclith limit really did end up mattering. It did end up being pretty good. I mean, I knew that was going to be the case, of course, that it would, of course, matter for the Thunder decks, but I still am kind of on the side that if we had just hit Rabbit and maybe Arclith wouldn't have had to go to 1, might have still anyway, honestly. It's a very strong card. I think either way, Race to the Top definitely didn't have to go to 1. I think the Elechick going to 1 is still up in the air, too, for how necessary it was if the Rabbit got hit instead. I just really think Rabbit should have gotten hit, but that's probably not a very shocking opinion to hold. Alright, so we're counting up Spirit decks. They are both around 10 or 11, if I remember right. It's pretty close. Queso going to expend a draw here. Okay, so Queso's ahead on board, but at least he doesn't really have much in hand right now. Yeah, we're just going to move to battle. Viscerous going to hit over the Quackle. Oh no, I end up using the Gorgon's Gaze. To stop that attack? Did I realize? I don't think I realized that there was a... I think I was a bit on autopilot. Yeah, that was... I was on autopilot and thought there was a third Vis still. I definitely should have let that attack go through. There was no reason to. That Gorgon's Gaze was spent on nothing, essentially, there. Didn't even save any spirit. It still cost me an extra spirit here. It didn't even save me damage. Yeah, that was me being on autopilot and still assuming another Viscerous was going to come down. Not even that I misremembered that there was one before. Again, I just forgot that it was at 3, or wasn't at 3, briefly. So, alright, so here I'm going to Toxian for the burn, and then I'm actually going to end up using, well, I'm going to Ambro here, but I think I'm going to end up using this Toxian to crash into the Elechick, if I remember right. Yeah, so we're getting to heal back here with the Ambro. And sure enough, about to enter battle. I have to set a card first? Or do I have anything to set? I don't know if I do. I still have that other Ambro. I think I have access to all 3 Ambro at this point. Yeah, we're going to crash into the Elechick here for sure. I think that is 100% worth it. Oh, but Queso's got an Argo. I remembered it wasn't that simple. I just couldn't remember why. So... Yep, Queso's got another Argo here. Has already used 2 Poison Tunics, but does still have a Scythe of Demeter. An excellent card overall, but especially I think in the Wasp Ivy deck for sure. So yeah, that Scythe going on the Elechick there does let it actually battle over the Toxian instead of it being a crash here. And Queso also gets an Earth Spirit back thanks to the effect of the Scythe of Demeter. Yeah, even if Demeter isn't in play, you do still get 1 spirit back. It's just that you get 2 if Demeter's in play. I misremembered during this game. I thought you didn't get anything back, but you got 2 back if Demeter was up. But no, you still get 1 back. So, Queso's going to take that Earth Spirit back, and then it'll be his turn after that. Yeah, so we're still, like I said, in a pretty precarious position here. Only 2 cards in hand, and behind on board, too. Not a good place to be. Although, I will say, at the very least, that Argo did set a pretty nice spirit differential for us. Yeah, sure, Queso got 1 of the Earths back, but still had to spend a total of 4 for a net total spend of 3 just to be able to make that play, so... Alright, here we're going to expend to draw before setting and passing. Now, I remember that set card ended up being Tsunami. And I think I drew that for a turn, and then when I expended a draw, I got a Foamy. So at this point, with Foamy... Between Tsunami, Foamy, and Sonicore, I'm starting to see the line here, right? The line that's going to get me ahead on board and actually win me this game. I actually thought for pretty much the entirety of this game that I was going to lose it. Maybe spoiler alert there, but... I mean, as you can see, I've been behind on board, like, literally this entire game, except for when Arclith came down, debatably, but... Yeah, I'm just going to take the 2 here. There's no sense in using Tsunami just yet. Because, like I said, I've got this Foamy, and if Queso ends up battling over the Foamy and trying to hit my other thing, I want to make sure I can protect that with the Tsunami. So I'm going to Ambro here. Going to get back 2 Thunder and a Water. I do have 2 Water in my Spirit deck, but I got back another one here just in case. Because I was pretty sure I was going to misenchant the thing I bring out off of Foamy, but I put back another Water just in case, right? Setting a card, that was a PTA we top decked, I remember that. And then casting out the Foamy in defense. So Foamy is such a good card. Like, the more I play both with and against it, the more and more I realize just, like, how much just having Foamy out, like, how favored you are in that board state, right? Like, it's just such a huge advantage, even when you're behind, right? In a situation like this, Foamy paired with, like, a simple counter rune like Tsunami, or it could also be a Shield, or potentially a Gorgons, that's enough to just reclaim control of the board. The kind of bit of an issue I might end up having here, though, is that if I want to go into the Sonic and have it be live, I need Double Thunder, right? But I might not have the luxury of that choice. I'm thinking about it here during Queso's turn, and I might end up actually having to just misenchant Ascend into the Sonic trying to battle over this, like, equipped Elechick, right? Alright, so after doing a bit of thinking, looks like Queso's going to actually end up battling here? Yeah. Battling into the Foamy, getting an Earth Spirit back, but of course I also get the Foamy effect. So the Celestial you get off of Foamy does have to be played in defense mode. That is, of course, always worth remembering. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cast out Galaxy misenchanted with Thunder. That way it's still got 5 defense and its stats aren't swapped. Now, like I said, I wanted to get whatever I summoned here misenchanted with Thunder anyway. So this actually happens to work out well, because the Viscerus at 5 attack cannot battle over this Galaxy. So I actually didn't end up needing to use the Tsunami there, which was nice. Now from here, I am going to draw for turn, and we are simply as mentioned before, I'm going to ascend the Galaxy into the Sonic with Double Thunder. So yeah, that face down card that Queso's got can't be used in response, and neither of us can cast counter runes while it's up. I still get to battle over the Elechick here, dealing a point of damage on top of it, which is so nice. Now, granted, I can't use my back rows either, but that's fine when I have the strongest dude in play, right? Yeah, Queso here just clarifying that, like, I really can't use counter runes like you in response to summon, and it's like, no, it specifically states that you cannot cast counter, or that the Sonic Course cast cannot be chained to by counter runes, so... Yeah, so the Sonic gets a swing over the Elechick, also sending the Demeter there. And yeah, at this point, Queso's just gonna scoop it up. Only 1 spirit left, and nothing in hand that's able to get over the Sonic Core. So yeah, Sonic Core, like I said, very strong card. Was already good before Arcleth got limited. Definitely worth the addition. But that's going to do it for this game. Thanks again to Queso for the game. Check out his Twitch link in the description below. And thanks to you for watching. Feel free to sub if you want to see more Lestrals profiles. But this is Hexlex signing out for now. Hoping you have a fantastic day.